So keep this for me. Yeah, the original idea for it was existed. It lived as a play first. And as you said, like the characters like just stayed with me for a really long time. So the original idea actually came many, many, many years ago. I wanted to write another play, and I was looking at a newspaper back, in the days when we had more physical newspapers. And I happened upon a little story about a man who had just been arrested for killing two young women. And what the focus of the story was that his father had also done the same thing. In fact, his father had been a serial killer and had killed many, many people. And now the son was seemingly doing the same thing. And so there was this question of like, could there be a genetic component to that kind of violence? And I don't know the answer to that. And I don't know if we do know the answer to that. It's kind of a hard study to make. But I've got to imagine that there's going to be like the child of somebody who has done something really violent is going to be impacted in some way, right? Like it's like in their blood. Whether that doesn't mean that they're going to act on it by any means. Um, but that was part of the impetus and was that in the news article, the and sort of a classic thing, they were driving and their car broke down on the side of the road, right? Like, and they waited a series, and he killed the man very quickly, and he held the woman hostage for a few hours before killing her. And I just became really fascinated by that woman sitting in that truck and those few hours. What was in her head? That was really kind of my big question. Like, what is in your mind in that time? Like, you've gone from something so completely ordinary, right? You're just sitting in a car with your partner on a drive, like something that you've done 1,000 times, and suddenly now you are facing your death. So Eddie Ward in my book is the serial killer, and he was in the play as well. And when you go into the mind of a sort of bad person, I mean, I don't think people think that they're bad. I think that people have a very particular point of view of the world, and that point of view might be really skewed. It might be really messed up. I think his is, right? But I think if you were to look at any person who is quote unquote evil, as I would say Eddie Ward is, that if you go inside them, they have a particular point of view. And whether that is impacted by mental illness or it's impacted by a kind of psychopathy. I don't know if that's a word, being a psychopath, of an inability to empathize with other people. Is it a way of sort of seeing that some people are less than others and therefore deserving of the treatment that they receive? I mean, humans have a lot of really messed up ways of seeing each other. And um, so when I'm writing a character like that, I'm trying to see the world through their eyes and figure out like, and it's not to justify their behavior. I mean, what he does is horrible. Um, but it doesn't come out of a vacuum, right? It comes from somewhere. So he has a particular way of seeing other people, seeing the world, and seeing his place in that world, and he acts accordingly. So it's going kind of inside there and trying to imagine what his thoughts are, which is dark, but I write thrillers. So Fiona Green lost her mother when she was 2.5 years old. Her mother was the final victim of this serial killer. At least that's certainly the story that she's grown up with. And so when you're 2.5 years old, you don't really have a memory. I mean, once you become an adult, uh, I don't think you're going to really have memories of that person if you've lost somebody at that age. She has sort of an impression, but really what she has is cobbled together through all the stories that she's been told. And most of those stories involve her mother being a victim. And that was something that I was really interested in, was this idea of somebody being reduced to victim, but they're much more than victim, right? They have a whole life. And it was the same when I was thinking about that woman, the real woman, sitting in that truck, and I imagined how she would think about. Did she think about the newspaper articles that would be written later, that I was reading, that were just where she just was kind of, her whole life was reduced to this single word. And so Fiona has grown up very much with this her mother being a blank that is just filled in with that word victim. And I think there's a lot of feelings about that. There's anger, and there's loss, there's grief. Like, there's a real absence in her life. And so what she learns at the top of the book, and it's not giving anything away because it's in the jacket copy, is that Eddie Ward on his prison deathbed has said that he actually didn't kill her. And so then it becomes like, well, what the heck happened? Because she never came back. And so I think that, I mean, that causes her to go back and try and understand what actually did happen. And in doing that, she actually starts to learn more about her mother's life, and her mother's identity becomes more fully formed. And she isn't just a victim, she becomes a young woman herself who was also struggling with early motherhood, which is something that Fiona learns. And I mean, she's a long distance swimmer. She was a long distance swimmer, which Fiona's always known, but she meets one of her mother's friends, and she, I think she's not, I don't think she's going to be able to get her mother back, right? Like, she's gone, but she gets a fuller picture of her to kind of hold on to. So I loved writing Jason Ward. So in the book, I go back and forth between three different points of view. Fiona Greens, who is the protagonist, Jason Ward, who's the son of the serial killer, and then Anna, who is Fiona's mom. And Jason was the most fun to write. He's similar to Fiona growing up with her mother just being sort of represented by this word. Jason, I mean, he does have more memories of his father because he wasn't arrested until Jason was 11. But really, his father has been reduced to a single word as well, which is monster. And so, yes, Jason is grappling with his own, not role in that. I mean, he wasn't responsible for what his father did, but he's kind of, as you said, like the small town, he's kind of automatically given this label of monster, that he's probably going to be just like his father. And that label being put on him, he's then grappling with that because he actually does have an incredible amount of anger. He knows he has the capability for violence. He starts to feel that in himself, and it's kind of a question like, well, what came first? Like, was it the way everybody was seeing him that causes him to want to act this way? Or is that just his natural way? Because, I mean, look at his father, and people are then reacting to it. And he's kind of, I mean, I feel like it's kind of a no-win situation for the guy. And yeah, he and his mother, when he's young, after the trial and everything, his mother stays there in that community, and that's part of the problem. But she does because she is, I mean, she has no money, and she's such an isolated person. um and I feel like there's a sort of a digging in there. I feel like of the mother, and then there for a little bit of the son, but more his mother, going like, I didn't do anything wrong. Like, I don't deserve to I don't deserve to be punished. I don't deserve to be painted with this monster, you know. But of course she is. And of course the son is too. And so, yeah, he was really fun to write, um, as he grapples with his own capabilities for becoming his father or not. I knew very, very early on, I knew how it was going to end. I wasn't quite sure how I was going to get there. So in the early days of imagining the book, I knew where it began and I knew where it ended. And I had this giant blank in the middle of like, this happens. And then about 200 pages later, this happens. And, you know, and then filled in all those blanks. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't always happen, but I think it's really helpful when you're writing to know, to have a destination in mind. I kind of picture it like, I kind of picture writing as like climbing a mountain, right? Like I'm standing at the bottom of the mountain and I can kind of see the summit, but I cannot see my path to get there. I just know that it's there somewhere.